Good morning, everyone. My name is Jay Clark, and I'm honored to serve on your Board of Trustees. Welcome to this virtual gathering of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Richmond. Our church was begun in 1833 as a liberal Christian community. 188 years later, and we are now a community of many faith journeys and beliefs united in a single covenant of care. Through the years, our congregation has sought and often succeeded in the mission to seek personal wisdom, build beloved community, and serve the purpose of justice in the Richmond community. Thank you for taking the time to honor our connections in the ways we have available now. I hope this gathering nourishes your spirit and helps sustain you and your loved ones. You are welcome here as your whole self. Our gathering is made sacred by your presence. We'd especially like to welcome our visitors today from near and far. We look forward to greeting you in the coming year. In the meantime, we invite you to introduce yourself in the chat and feel free to contact us at membership@richmondu.org. For more information about our church, we encourage our visitors and members to please see our website, richmondu.org. Our website has great information about who we are as a church, where we are, and what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. For our members, I want to draw attention to the Care and Community tab on the website, which includes info on lay pastoral care, giving to First UU, and volunteer opportunities. We want to be sure our members are able to stay connected with the church, so in addition to the website, please keep an eye on your email for our 3 weekly newsletters covering care and community, social justice, and worship and church business. Important news from your board and ministerial staff is always included in the weekly newsletters. Again, contact membership@richmondu.org for more info. Finally, we'd like to encourage all of you to sign in to our worship service 5 to 10 minutes early to catch the pre-show announcements. This is another good way to stay informed about things that are important to our shared community. Happy summer to all of you, and be well. Once again, welcome to this time of worship.
The chalice lighting words today are from E. E. Cummings. I thank you, God, for this most amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees, and a blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I, who have died and am alive again today, and this is the sun's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and wings, and of the gay, great happening, illimitably earth. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any, lifted from the no of all nothing, human merely being, doubt unimaginable you? Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened. Let us light our chalice this morning.
A reading from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And a poet said, "Speak to us of beauty." And he answered, "Where shall you seek beauty, and how shall you find her, unless she herself be your way and your guide? And how shall you speak of her, except she be the weaver of your speech? The aggrieved and injured say, beauty is kind and gentle. Like a young mother half shy of her own glory, she walks among us. And the passionate say, nay, beauty is a thing of might and dread. Like the tempest, she shakes the earth beneath us and the sky above us. The tired and the weary say, beauty is of soft whispering. She speaks in our spirit. Her voice yields to our silences like a faint light that quivers in fear of the shadow. But the restless say, we have heard her shouting among the mountains, and with her cries came the sound of hooves and the beating of wings and the roaring of lions. At night, the watchmen of the city say, beauty shall rise with the dawn from the east. And at noontide, the toilers and the wayfarers say, we have seen her leaning over the earth from the windows of the sunset. In winter, the snowbound say, she shall come with the spring leaping upon the hills. And in the summer heat, the reapers say, we have seen her dancing with the autumn leaves, and we saw a drift of snow in her hair. All these things have you said of beauty, yet, in truth, you spoke not of her, but of needs unsatisfied. And beauty is not a need, but an ecstasy. It is not a mouth thirsting or an empty hand stretched forth, rather a heart inflamed and a soul enchanted. It is not the image you would see, nor the song you would hear, but rather an image you see though you close your eyes, and a song you hear though you shut your ears. It is not the sap within the furrowed bark, nor a wing attached to a claw, but rather a garden forever in bloom, and a flock of angels forever in flight. People of Orphalese, beauty is life, when life unveils her holy face. But you are life, and you are the veil. Beauty is eternity, gazing at herself in a mirror. But you are eternity, and you are the mirror.
I have seen my brother stumble, I have seen my father fall, like shadows from behind me, reaching out so far that I always have wondered. My feet are so blinded, if ever they'll find their ground on a road worth walking down. Yes, I have walked these empty sidewalks without a trace, without a sign. Past windows with their shades drawn tight over thousands of lives, and I wonder, my eyes are so blinded I won't know it when I've found a road worth walking down, to find a road worth walking down. Sometimes it rises up inside you, sometimes I feel that I may drown and vanish without ever seeing. This is my life, this is my ground, and I wonder if my mind is so blinded I won't know it when I've found a road worth walking down, a road worth walking down. Down in Virginia, 'neath the holly tree, the river that gave him his youth, my father lies saying what he always said: ease yourself. Oh, I have seen my mother's courage. You give them life, you let them go, and I have chosen my own direction, so far away from it all, and I wonder, my heart is so blinded I won't know it when I found a road worth walking down. I see my love, my heart is so blinded I won't know it when I found a road worth walking down, to find a road worth walking down.
Now, let us join in a spirit of prayer. We cannot pray to you, O God, to banish war. For you have filled the world with paths to peace, if only we would take them. We cannot pray to you to end starvation, for there is food enough for all, if only we would share it. We cannot pray to you for prejudice to cease, for we might see the good in all that lies before our eyes, if only we would use them. We cannot merely pray, root out despair, for the spark of hope already waits within the human heart for us to fan it into flame. We must not ask of you, O God, to take the task that you have given us. We cannot shirk, we cannot flee away, avoiding obligation forever. Therefore, we pray, O God, for wisdom and will, for courage to do and to become, not only to look on with helpless yearning as though we had no strength. For your sake and ours, speedily and soon let it be, that our land may be safe, that our lives may be blessed. Amen. I invite you now into a period of silence.
Good morning. I'm Jim Armstrong with the Share the Plate Committee. It's my pleasure this morning to tell you that the young people in our religious education program have selected the Share the Plate recipient for the month of June, and they've picked Caritas. Founded in 1987, Caritas has provided temporary and more permanent housing arrangements for families and individuals who find themselves homeless, along with case management services and other support services. Our church has partnered with Caritas over a number of years, and we remain a community partner supporting the work that they do. I want to thank you in advance for your generosity and support for this church and for the financial support of our Share the Plate recipients, and for the month of June for your financial support for Caritas. Thank you very much.
This morning, I want to share a little bit with you about how I came to be here at First UU. What brought me here on this pilgrimage that I've been making throughout my life, and what this time has meant, particularly these last 15 months, and how they have brought us closer together as a community. Over 40 years ago, I was working in humanistic and transpersonal psychology and education. I was working primarily with adults, and I would say primarily doing repair work, helping them reconnect with that part of them that they remembered having as a child, but that they had lost that connection to awe, mystery, wonder. And I saw an ad for a humanistic religious educator for the Washington Ethical Society. And I thought, this looks interesting. And as I interviewed for that position, I began to realize that this was an opportunity to work with the whole family, to develop their spiritual sense, their spiritual beings, and to be able to find ways to hang on to that language so that as they grew up, they didn't lose it. They didn't lose that connection. And I did that for 30-some years. But then I decided, back again, full circle, decided that I really wanted to work with congregations to help them develop their sense of spiritual connection, that connectedness that is in our first source, in our principles. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. So how do we, as Unitarian Universalists, connect with that first principle? How do we experience the awe and mystery and wonder? And then how does that inform how we live? There are lots of ways to do it. As you know, I've been leading spiritual practices since I got here, particularly in the last 15 months. So spiritual practices connect us to what is within. It connects us to our roots that go into the earth, and we feel that connection to the earth. It connects us to the universe that's beyond us, beyond our shoulders, where we're all connected. It connects us to our heart, which connects us to one another and all beings on earth. There's a nun that recently has written about, she wants people to remember that they're going to die, that's the spiritual practice, to remember each day that you're going to die. And I thought, well, let me try it. Well, she was right, because if I woke up in the morning and reminded myself I was going to die, when I looked out the window, I could see the beauty of the earth that was around me. The light in the trees, the blue of the sky, the white of the clouds. So that's a practice, remembering our finiteness. Gratitude is a practice. They know that expressing gratitude 3 times a day actually changes you. And mindfulness that connects the breath and the mind and the body. All of these ways of connecting with ourselves. So when I came here, having been training religious professionals to do this within their congregations and within themselves, because that's the first step, I thought, well, let's see what we can do in a large community like this to help us connect to that part of ourselves. This was my calling. This was the call that I felt 40 years ago, to help people reconnect to all that is holy and sacred, all that is mystery, all that is awe. And I've spent most of my life living that call in the various places that I've been, helping people risk the direct experience, helping people learn the language of their soul. The reading on beauty this morning was talking about that. We frame it in terms of our needs, because to understand this part of ourselves, we can only do it through metaphor. It's got to be, it is like. So we experience that within ourselves. A congregant of mine recently told me that she found it much easier to journal when things didn't go right, But when everything felt connected, she felt it was hard to find the words. And that's what this kind of experience is. It's hard to find the words. So we use metaphors. We find it in art, we find it in music, we find it in nature. This connection, this part of us that connects us all. I receive meditations in my email account each day, and the one I got the day before yesterday was 20 minutes of the sounds of water. So just imagine listening for just 20 minutes to the sounds of nature around you. In this case, the sound of water. Until you actually become the water. And notice what it is like to be water. So here at First UU, I wanted to be able to help people reconnect with those parts of themselves and find that language for themselves, because it's different for all of us. How I experience this awe and mystery and how you experience this awe and mystery will be different. And I think we've learned that. And I think we've learned the language, because the language is what's important. If you don't know the language of compassion and grace and gratitude, you can't experience it. And so we learn to declare ourselves as possibilities in the world. Possibilities of hope and joy, of love, of service. And as we make those declarations, we can begin to live into that. So that's what we were doing, the various classes and groups and spiritual practices groups, as a way of encouraging us as adults to begin to reconnect in that way and to reconnect to our dreams, because we yearn for that connection and for meaning in our lives. And it deserves time and attention. Well, then COVID happened. And 15 months ago, everything shut down. So what to do? How do we live into community when all we have is this, Zoom? And we learned how. One of the things that I did was start leading spiritual practices online 3 to 5 times a week. And the Artist Way last summer. And what I've learned is that that works too. Because we need to engage in that direct experience of awe and wonder. And as we entered this time of COVID, and as we're beginning to exit it now, we need to understand what it is that has happened to us. One of the things that Susan Beaumont says is that in order to make transitions, you have to experience the loss. But we avoid experiencing the loss because it's painful. And so we find things to do rather than experiencing the loss. And so I think that's where we start right now. That's certainly where I had to start, because in making this move, which is complicated by COVID and other things, I had to give it more time than I normally would. Normally, these kinds of moves in ministry, John and I figured out we've moved 7 times. You do it in a couple of weeks. You get everything lined up, it gets packed, it gets moved, you drive, and you're at the next place. Well, this was taking 2 months or more, and we had to feel all the feelings. And I realized what comes up first is grief. And that's not a bad thing, because it shows me what I appreciate and what I love and what I've added to my life. And it's not something I've lost, it's just grief. But then what after the grief? After you embrace the grief and make the transition. So this morning, rather than talking about this, I want to invite us into an experience. I want to invite us into an experience of meditation. So get settled in your seats. comfortable, if you can, your spine upright. And feel your feet on the floor or on the ground, or your body on the ground. And just notice how you're making connections to the earth. Take a few deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And be aware that you're breathing in peace and relaxation and breathing out tension. And if you can, if you're willing, close your eyes. If not, just leave them unfocused on the ground in front of you. Feel the places where your body connects with the ground. And feel the ground support you as it connects with these places. Imagine now that you're in a place that holds meaning for you. It could be familiar or unfamiliar. Imagine you are in a place that holds meaning for you. You are gently moving with intention, but without rush. Notice the ground upon which you move. Perhaps it is soft grass, a dusty dirt path, concrete, or even an indoor floor. You carry with you a small bag containing a most sacred gift. Look at that bag. What's it made of? What color is it? How does it feel in your hands? In this small bag, it contains a seed of possibility born from your gratefulness. Look in the bag and see that seed of possibility born from your gratefulness. And notice how that feels in your body. You are on a journey to plant this seed. Your destination comes into view. Perhaps it's a tilled garden bed, a field, the woods, or even a room with a container, even just a cup. Your destination comes into view on this journey to plant this seed of possibility, born from your gratefulness for the last 15 months. When you arrive at your destination, take a moment to root yourself. You might say hello to this place. Open your senses to the surrounding area. Take a few deep breaths. Audibly sigh. Consider what preparation might be needed for planting. You might begin by asking permission or expressing thanks. What preparation might be needed for planting? Is the soil that will hold this seed ready for sowing, or might it need some tending? Are there any weeds or stones that need to be cleared to allow space for your seed to take root and grow? Is there any other action that might help make this act of seed planting feel like a sacred ceremony? What action would you like to take to make this act of seed planting feel like a sacred ceremony? And take that action. When you're ready, take out your small bag and pour the seed into your hand. Remembering that the essence of this seed is sourced in gratefulness, gently close your fist. Tune into the possibility that exists within this seed. What wants to emerge from this seed as an extension of your grateful heart? Close your fist. Tune into the possibility that exists within this seed. What wants to emerge from this seed as an extension of your grateful heart? Now imagine the seed buried in nutrient soil, germinating with light and water, growing roots and stem and leaves and flowers, and soon more seeds so that the cycle may continue. Imagine the seed buried in the soil, germinating, growing, flowering, and producing more seeds. What takes shape? What flourishes? How and who and what might this growth nourish? What takes shape? What flourishes? How and who and what might this growth flourish? What does this nourish? And become aware of the garden we are planting. See all the seeds that have been placed in the soil this morning by all the people that are part of this community. And notice the kind of garden that grows. Walk through it. Smell it. What is this garden nourishing? Having placed your seed in the soil, as an act of completion, you may want to set an intention, say a blessing, or express gratitude. Trust this seed will grow, that all the seeds that we place as a community in this soil will grow. So what would it look like to plant the seed for a vision you've been holding, for an idea that has sparked your curiosity, or for a collective movement? What does it look like to plant the seed for a vision of beloved community on this journey we make together? What are all the seeds that we are planting together in this garden that is our faith community of First UU in Richmond and of Unitarian Universalism around the world? These are the seeds we've gathered, the seeds of possibility that have come out of both our grief and our longings and our connections to one another. So come back into this space. And whatever your experience was, I invite you to share it in the chat. What seed of possibility are you planting in our garden so that when we come back all together, we are a new vision? Heaven on earth, as Reverend Dave called it. What are we planting in our garden together? That is our harvest from these 15 months we have spent physically apart. So that's what I want to leave you with. The seeds of possibility that we all are. The seeds that I saw in young children. And the seeds that we plant and grow and flourish. That nurture us, nurture our community, and nurture the world. And may it be so. Amen. Blessed be.
Eventually you think you could escape the little doubts of every day, the up and down crisis of faith. Anything's just a breath away. Eventually you think you could resign from the movie in the back of your mind. The soundtrack plays all the time. You're alone in the theater. Like an old yellow black and white, handed down over time, holds the faded line to meaning. Where we come from, who we are, faces on passing subway cars, all on our way to something worth doing, something worth doing, something worth doing, something worth doing. They slip away beneath the weight of merely living. Through a tunnel endlessly long and littered dark and deep, till you change the I to we, and something worth doing, something worth doing, something worth doing, something worth doing. Sidewalk, footfall, small talk, people in a hurry just to get on, get off, figures on a sundial, in file. Meanwhile, time keeps ticking like the clicking of a turnstile. The rattle, the clatter, the rumble and the roar, the sound and the fury and the hurry and the war between the spirit and the circuit board, the ghost and the machine, the beating of a million hearts living in between the moment and eternity, the hope and the uncertainty. It long ago occurred to me, all we really have is love. Something worth doing, something worth doing. Say something worth doing, something worth doing, something worth doing.
The benediction comes from Arahati Roy. She wrote this over a year ago. What is this thing that has happened to us? It's a virus, yes. In and of itself, it holds no moral brief. But it is definitely more than a virus. It has made the mighty kneel and brought the world to a halt like nothing else could. Our minds are still racing back and forth, longing for a return to normality, trying to stitch our future to our past and refusing to acknowledge the rupture. But the rupture exists, and in the midst of this terrible despair, it offers us a chance to rethink the doomsday machine we have built for ourselves. Nothing could be worse than a return to normality. Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our databanks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. Let us extinguish our chalice, but carry this light in our hearts.